business aviation giving a lift to thousands of hardworking athletes and their coaches. From the National Business Aviation Association, this is Flight Plan. I'm Rob Finfrock with your trusted source for business aviation news. The 2022 Special Olympics USA Games will take place from June 5th through 12th in Orlando, Florida. For many athletes, participating in the Games represents the pinnacle of achievement in sports including basketball, flag football, golf, track and field, equestrian events, and even surfing. That said, finding transportation to the Games can quickly turn into a financial and logistical challenge for many athletes and their families. But fortunately, for more than 35 years, business aviation has been there to lend a hand, and more than a few aircraft.
This is a tradition that began in 1985 with two Cessna Citation aircraft that transported athletes to the Special Olympic Games in Park City, Utah.
That was Steve Spurley, Vice President of Sales for Textron Aviation and Recruitment Chair for this year's Special Olympics Airlift.
Textron Aviation is extraordinarily excited to be organizing what is now our 8th Special Olympics Airlift to the Games this coming June. With that, it has grown just a little bit. Thanks to the generous support of aircraft owners, we are aiming to reclaim the title of the largest peacetime civilian airlift with a goal of 228 aircraft that would transport approximately 1,200 athletes and coaches. For perspective, on arrival day, that's a landing every 2 to 3 minutes for nearly 10 hours. So many might ask, why is this important? Travel is the single largest expense. The airlift alleviates much of that burden, while also providing a reliable and comfortable travel experience so that the athletes arrive well rested and ready to perform to their best.
As Steve mentioned, the airlift began with a pair of Cessna Citation jets, and it quickly attracted more pilots from that community who wanted to donate their time and aircraft to a worthy cause. And while this year's airlift will include a variety of aircraft across Textron Aviation's brands, Citation pilots still comprise a large number of the participants, and that includes David Miller, the Director of Safety Education for the Citation Jet Pilots Association. And while many CJP members have participated in past airlifts, David says this year's event holds special significance for the group.
Our organization is about 10 years old, and so this is the first opportunity we've had to participate in the Special Olympics. Currently, over 50% of the total members who have signed up are CJP members. So we've had a tremendous outpouring of support for the effort led by Textron and Steve, and we're very excited to be a part of it.
And of course, the entire purpose of the Special Olympics Airlift is to help ease the challenge of arranging transportation to the Games, so athletes can focus their energy on the thrill of competition. Athletes like Maddie Gaines.
I'm competing in track and field in 400 and 800 meter. This will be my first time me competing in the Special Olympics. I'm excited and I'm looking forward to competing in the Special Olympics. I'm most excited about me competing against other athletes.
We'll have more in just a moment, but first, this message from NBAA.
NBAA Flight Plan listeners, the latest digital edition of your magazine is ready. Just visit nbaa.org/insider and all the latest intel will be in your hands.
We're back now with Maddie Gaines, Steve Spurley, and David Miller, and our conversation about the upcoming 2022 Special Olympics Airlift. I'd like to also now welcome in Michael Budiger, president of West Texas PCS and, like David, a member of the Citation Jet Pilots Association. Michael, you've flown in previous Special Olympics airlifts. Can you tell us a bit about your experiences?
Yeah, the Special Olympics airlift for me was one of the highlights of my flying career, quite honestly. The Textron support, first of all, for the pilots and organization for the pilots is nothing beyond incredible. I showed up to the airport. We had it all planned. Textron will designate a specific identifier for each aircraft. Most of them, at least at the year that we were doing it, they were Dove, like Dove 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was your call sign when you filed your flight plan and when you were talking on the radio. So I show up at the airport, and Harrison Ford was the celebrity sponsor of the event that year, and he was flying one of his Citations as well. And it was interesting because all of the athletes were there and they were so excited to be able to get on the airplane and meet the pilots. And somebody asked all of the athletes, they said, well, would you like to go over and meet, Harrison Ford? And the athletes that were flying with me said, no, we want to meet our pilot. So it's really heartfelt that each one of these kids, you're doing something very special for them. They probably, most of them have never been close to a private aircraft, much less flown on one, and had the ability to experience the landings and takeoff from the destination airport was, again, absolutely spectacular. I've never seen anything like it. I don't even think that Oshkosh compares to the way that Textron has organized this event. They've got everybody in the right slots. You're coming in one right after the other. You're taxiing over to your parking spaces. They've got people there that are waving you on and telling you which direction to go. You unload all of your passengers and then fuel up and depart. When you pick the athletes up, that's probably one of the most spectacular things I think I've ever seen. The athletes come in and every one of them are on such a high. They've got several, if not multiple medals hanging off their necks and just jangling with excitement, and even thinking about it today just kind of warms my soul and makes me thankful for the opportunity that I've been granted to be able to be in the position to try to be a part of something so grand.
That sounds amazing, Michael. And David, I understand this will be your first time flying in the Special Olympics airlift. What compelled you to join up this year?
I think, as Michael said, the real benefit of this endeavor is the incredible, great feeling you get when you do something good. At CJP, we haven't had to entice our members at all. They've just signed up through word of mouth. They've heard about what happens when you see these athletes and how they are affected, and how it changes your life, and just being able to do something great. I happen to have my niece, Chrissy, is for 25 years, she has been participating in Dallas on a local level in Special Olympics. So I've been able to see her grow up and see the joy on her face when she bowls a strike in a bowling contest, and the sheer delight she has in participating and competing. And it's a life-changing event, and it's just something that I want to be associated with.
Indeed. And Steve, Michael mentioned Harrison Ford, who served as the honorary chairman of the 2010 Special Olympics airlift. But you have a pretty big name for this year's event, too.
Sure. This year's honorary chair is Peyton Manning, a recognizable name in athletics that most folks know, and we are super proud to have Peyton's involvement.
That's fantastic. And Steve, we've heard how significant volunteering in the airlift can be for pilots. But how can those who don't fly a Textron Aviation aircraft help out?
That's a great question. The airlift is a massive effort that really spans our entire industry. First, I would ask that listeners help share this message and encourage those that own Citation aircraft, Beechcraft, King Airs, or Hawker and Premier products to participate. Second, our industry partners can really support in a big way. We've already had folks that own FBOs, MROs, offer to support the airlift in a variety of ways, whether that be donating ground handling equipment or simply placing informational products about the airlift. And last, we will need quite a few volunteers for the arrival and departures in Orlando. As Michael had alluded to, it's a pretty significant undertaking. And if folks are interested in participating either there or in any other way, they're welcome to connect with me directly.
And we'll have that information at the end of this podcast so people can connect with you about volunteering. Maddie, how did you find out about the Special Olympics? And what would you say to others who will be competing in the Games in June?
I read about the Special Olympics, and my parents was telling me about it. The type of advice that I would give them is I would tell them to have fun and enjoy themselves and win the game.
And that is great advice.
Hey, Rob, I'll bet Maddie could beat Peyton Manning in the 800-yard dash, 800 meters. What do you think, Maddie?
I don't know.
I like your chances, Maddie. After all, he's been away from football for a few years now.
Yeah, I think Maddie should challenge Peyton Manning for a runoff.
Let's make it happen. And Michael, in addition to perhaps encouraging Peyton Manning to hit the track over the next few months, what other advice would you give to those who'd like to donate their time in aircraft or perhaps support the airlift in other ways?
Well, I think that seeing Maddie and Mr. Manning in a foot race would be well worth the trip. But I think that if you're an owner pilot and you have the opportunity to do this, you should jump on it because you'll never regret it. The heartfelt satisfaction that you get from donating your time, your aircraft, I don't think that there's another comparison out there. It's an opportunity that we have as pilots and owners to be able to do something for our community. Most of the pilots will take athletes from their local area. And to be a part of the feeling that these young athletes experience is absolutely astounding. There's nothing that I can think of in my lifetime that's ever compared to that other than, birth of your child and watching your kids grow up and do well. It's an opportunity that we're afforded, and I would highly advise anyone that has the opportunity to do it to jump on it in the heartbeat.
David?
Rob, if any of the owners interested are concerned about logistics or support in an effort like this, they have nothing to worry about because Textron does absolutely admirable job of running things with military precision. So it's a well-oiled organization and enterprise.
And Maddie, what message do you have for those thinking about signing up to volunteer in the Special Olympics airlift?
We need you.
That says it all. Now, to learn more about volunteering your aircraft or your time to the Textron Aviation Special Olympics airlift, visit txtav.com/airlift. You'll find Steve's contact information there as well. And be sure to also check out 2022 SpecialOlympicsUSAGames.org to learn more about this year's event in Orlando. And that's the latest from the National Business Aviation Association. Remember, you can subscribe to all Flight Plan episodes at Apple Podcasts in the App Store, wherever you find your favorite podcasts, including by asking your virtual assistant or connected device, or download them from nbaa.org. I'm Rob Finfrock. Thanks for listening, and join us next time for a new episode of Flight Plan.